हाँ हाँ
Catalyst 2030 started life as a WhatsApp group among social entrepreneurs, connecting to envision real transformational change. Launched at the World Economic Forum in January 2020, it's grown into a global movement accelerating change to ensure the SDGs are reached by 2030. Fueled by passion, our 550 members working in 175 countries have collectively put in an amazing 50,000 volunteer hours, touching the lives of 2 billion people. And we're driven by values, to which we hold ourselves accountable. 2020 was a busy year, co-creating 3 reports with partners and producing one of our own. Inviting high-level guests to participate in the Catalyzing Change campaign, hosting fireside chats and expert hours, which will be continuing in 2021. To celebrate our achievements, together we placed our supporters in the limelight with the first Catalyst 2030 Awards for Systemic Change. With the blessing of the Dalai Lama, we celebrated finalists and winners in the following categories: special recognition for our early supporters, individual philanthropists, donor organizations, philanthropic intermediaries, corporate organizations, bi- and multilateral organizations, and 4 regional winners in the category of national governments. And now on to Catalyzing Change Week 2021. During this social entrepreneur-led event, we bring together diverse stakeholders in over 100 sessions to showcase their systems change efforts and the best practices that can accelerate our work in pursuit of the SDGs.
Thank you to the Catalyst 2030 team, Martina, and everybody for this wonderful platform. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Shanti, founder of Enable India. I'm an Ashoka Fellow since 2005 and a Schwab Social Innovator 2020 along with my husband, Deepesh Butaria. Perhaps, Deepesh, you could turn on your camera and say hi. Before we get started, I just want to take a minute for a prayer for all our fellow citizens that we'll get through this. With that, from an inclusion point of view, I'd like to say that there are no visuals for persons with vision impairments, and there'll be a Zoom poll, but we'll just give instructions for a person with vision impairment. There is Indian Sign Language for the deaf, and you can see that the live captioning is there. This is going to help all of us, especially if you can't understand my accent, I think it'll help you. And for people who are deaf or hard of hearing, but who don't really know Indian Sign Language, this will also help you. And I think I'd just like to, before I begin, I just want to say that the right terminology we will be using is person with disability. And if you're talking about a person without disability, we say person without disability. If anybody does use a different language, I'm sure over a period of time, we all will remember the right terminology, because language builds how we act and behave. With that, the way we're going to do this is around 30 minutes of hearing from speakers, and then we want to hear from you. This feels like it's a gathering of people whom we all know. I've invited many of you, so thank you for being here. So the context I'd like to set is, my experience started with my brother when he started growing blind. And over the years, when we started Enable India, where we impact livelihoods across 14 disabilities and actually work on the UN SDG of decent work and economic growth, our team, over the years of 20 years, what we have been able to do is really a changed narrative for persons with disability. We see persons with disability today, whether working in private employment, self-employment, government employment, all the forms of employment across different disabilities, severe disabilities, we find that persons with disability have become active citizens, change makers, nation builders. And for those, for the people whom we've seen that transformation, it almost looks like disability is just another thing. It's just a trait, on the side. So while our work has been innovative with models, frameworks, etc., it's a team effort. There's a value chain from early intervention, education. Many people have taken part in this, right? We may not know each other, but we've been doing work together. So I think over the years, the disability sector has all the answers. I think there's an urgent need for us to amplify the work that we all are doing. And I think we are not realizing, but disability is going to be the next humanitarian crisis that nobody is looking at. Only reason is because it's not seen. Whether you have a cold, whether you have COVID, jaundice, or cancer, it doesn't matter. But definitely we all are going to, be in a diminishing capacity of abilities, just because of the way nature is. If that is the case, how do we take this forward? We met the societal platform team. I would urge you to look at societalplatform.org, where we started thinking at a population level. And in that, we thought that what is the mission that we can orchestrate, all of us together, to catalyze persons with disability to be valued members of society with a better quality of life, while they, by enabling them to be on the journey of economic independence. When we were looking at this, we realized that this is not going to be so easily possible. Why? Despite the government's efforts, despite all of our efforts, there is something which is stopping us. What is that? I took a step back, and I just said that let's look at what others have been doing. All of you have been working on a change narrative. I look at the Return on Disability report. We're looking at disability as a consumer. You look at the work that ILO has done. We've looked at the economic angle. So even with all this, with all the things available, why is disability work not being able to accelerate? Somewhere, it just seems like let's do disability after we do everything else. Great work, all of you, but can we just do it a little later? There's something stopping this. So that's when we took a step back and said, let's just think about what's history shown us. All of us who are wearing glasses, just take a look at it. Do we realize that in the 16th century, we would have been called blind? We would have been called visually impaired. But because innovations were done, because you have centers everywhere around the country and the world who can give you glasses, because of these lovely frames, because of progressive glasses, the manufacturing units, thousands, literally millions of people are employed in the eyewear sector because of us not being able to see so clearly. So then the question was, we have looked at a change narrative till now. You have done a change narrative. Do we need to now make the narrative even more sharper? Because our focus in the current narrative that we are talking about is about persons with disability being, valued citizens. So somewhere government is not able to see that. The rest of society is not able to see that. Do we shift the focus and say, hey, everybody, you can benefit from disability. You can get jobs there. We have never looked at disability as a sector. Can we use the word purple, which Kate has been always talking about? So is it the purple sector can generate millions of jobs for all, non-disabled or disabled, and hence can help the economy? Will the government be able to then give focus? Will it help the government to invest? In fact, there is enough investment, at least we see in India, which is available, but it's not getting used. So will this be the changed narrative that can help us? Let's look at other sectors. Health and wellness did not exist before, much at least. Wellness didn't exist. You didn't have medical tourism before. There are different places from which we can learn. But just like retail sector, like hospitality, what if we look at the purple sector, shift the narrative so that society looks at how they can get jobs from there. Now, guess what happens? When, because of more jobs, people become mobility trainers, give support services. Let's say, imagine there are more deaf schools, more psychiatrists, more gig economy jobs. Automatically, persons with disability, perhaps in a rural area, or anybody who's not been getting service, not getting education, gets it at the snap of a button. And because of that, they become valued citizens, and then the narrative on disability will change automatically at population level. So that is what we are actually seeing and hoping. So with this, I'm really hoping that the speakers will be able to add more to this. And I'd like to, introduce them to. So we're not actually speaking about this. We're actually asking questions, and we're hoping that you will provide the answers. And we're going to do more after this webinar. It's really not about this webinar. I'd like to introduce Surbi and Sarah as the inclusion specialists, the interpreters, who are child of deaf adults. They've not given me better introductions than this, and they need to do it. The speakers, I'd like to introduce Anil Patel, who has 25 years experience in the international development sector. He's the founder and executive director of Carers Worldwide, which works across India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. He is the chair of the Membership Recruitment and Engagement Committee of the International Alliance of Care Organizations. Professor Mukta, a good friend, she's on the board, on the advisory board of Enable India, full disclosure here. And she's currently serving as the chair of the internal committee and as a member of the board of governors at IIM Bangalore, who she's co-authored so many papers, and there are so many awards that she's got for she's a top disability researcher in the world, for people who know that, right? And so, I'll stop there. There's so many, I have so many awards that you've got, Mukta. And Stefan, Tromel, Senior Disability Specialist in the ILO since August 2013. What really got to me, Stefan, was the fact that you were actively involved in the negotiation process at the UN Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disability. Ooh, oh my God. I didn't know this, Stefan, sorry. And obviously you have been a director, not only at the European Disability Forum, but you also were the executive director at the International Disability Alliance. So thank you all for being here. I'll start with Anil Patel. I want to just apologize that we don't have representation from the disability community. I was trying to get in touch with some folks who really I felt could add value, but that couldn't happen. But I have Anil, who represents a very important community, the carers. So Anil, if you could take about 5 to 7 minutes, set the stage, and we'll have more time during the 15, 20 minutes with, it's not really Q&A as much as everybody in the webinar gets involved.
Thank you, Shanti, for that warm welcome and setting the scene beautifully. And may I take this opportunity to welcome everybody on this virtual platform on behalf of Carers Worldwide. I echo with what Shanti said. We are going through unprecedented crisis at the moment, and all our thoughts and sympathies are with people who have been suffering at this moment. Just to set the scene, Carers Worldwide was launched in 2012. It is a UK-based registered charity and is the only organization exclusively and strategically trying to highlight the issues of unpaid family carers in South Asia. Many of these carers are persons caring for persons with disabilities. We work in partnership with carefully selected, well-established local NGOs in the countries where we are operating, like India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. We not only build the capacity of our local partner organization, but how to implement Carers Worldwide model, which is holistically not only transforms physical, mental, economic well-being of carers and their families. The model consists of 5 core elements. One of that is many of the time carers are feeling lonely, isolated, how we can support emotionally. So we promoted emotional support group to address their health issues. We provide the health services, organizing health camps specific to their conditions. And for the first time since they became a carer, perhaps they never had an opportunity to take the time off, like respite care or a short break. Again, because of the caring responsibility, there are two individuals are losing the income. So how do we engage them in employment, training, and education? Finally, we have the platform for everyone, but unfortunately, there is no platform for carers to make their caring visible. So we advocate and empower carers to advocate for their rights and their needs. So to date, our work has changed the lives of over 75,000 carers and their family members. Almost 75% of the persons we have supported are in India. So I can say at this virtual event, there are more than 100 participants are there. I can guarantee at least 25% of you have been or currently a caregiver. We all know someone either personally or socially or professionally who is a carer. And without them, our health and social care system would be faced with increased cost of billions of dollars. We can see that worldwide, in economic terms, this is an issue of structural importance. Some countries have begun to tally the contributions of informal carers. Others have not. The results are telling. For example, there are more than 6 million carers in the UK. That is roughly one person in 8 has some informal caring duties. The government calculates their contribution to the economy is 134 billion pounds, more than the National Health Service budget in 27. A recent European Quality of Life survey reported 20% of the population takes part in informal care. An OECD study found that 10% of adults over 50 take on a caring role. Approximately two-thirds are women, majority of them are women, with number of male carers are slowly increasing. Although we don't have the number of every country, we can expect carers do similarly factor into the economy because the same basic pattern exists virtually everywhere. And the current global 19 COVID-19 pandemic can only increase the demand. Similarly, many parts of the world, South Asia is just beginning to recognize its carers. In India, Bangladesh, and Nepal, the socio-economic conditions are changing rapidly. Large extended families are eroding into nuclear families, which affects the culture of care. Consider the scale. If we apply the European number of 20% to India, we would find 273 million carers. Already there are 100 million Indians over the age of 60. It is natural that eventually many of them will require a care. We could see a fourfold increase in demand for carers by 2030. Our survey has shown that 82% of carers are working age, but 38% of them are unable to work due to their caring responsibility. This is a colossal loss to the economy as well as to the individual families and the carers themselves. A recent global survey, which featured India, found that 71% of carers on a low income found that COVID-19 has significantly impacted the financial situation. Overall, 53% of Indian carers felt the same. Many of them have never received any support. We also know that many carers who are working ultimately give up their work to reduce their working hours to care for their loved one. And one of the key reasons for this is due to a lack of workplace support. So when considering the disability sector becoming an engine for economic growth, we must not forget carers or caregivers. Carers and their disabled relatives need to be included in the workforce. In case of people with the severe and complex disabilities, the carer may be the only person who is able to work and earn. In order to do this, we need to address 5 key following elements. One is there is a greater need for awareness and recognition, policies and programs to increase recognition of the central role carers play in the well-being of the person they are caring for. The second, health and well-being. Support to uphold carers' physical and mental health, facilitate social connections, and enable carers to pursue their interest outside of their caring responsibilities. The third, financial support. There has to be measures to support carers' financial security and elevate the pressure on personal finances from caring. Fourth, most important aspect is information and knowledge. How do we resource to empower carers that are appropriate to their needs and the stage of their journey? And finally, work and education. Practices to create supportive workplace and educational environment so carers have equal opportunity to remain and return to work and school. There are so many young carers are there, no fault of their own. They end up looking after either siblings or parents. Due to that, they're dropping out of school, missing vital education. So due to limited time, I will just focus on awareness and recognition and issue of employment. In the area of,
Anil, you have a minute? Anil, you have a minute? Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. In the area of awareness and recognition, it is important to understand there is a little formal recognition of carers or legislation to support them in India. To raise the awareness, carers worldwide has promoted groups at village level, cluster level, district level. We have brought together practitioners, policymakers, academics, corporates representative at a state level for the same purpose. We have been advocating to include carers into Manrega activities. Some of the Indian colleagues will know what Manrega is all about. Because of the time constraint, I'm not going to go into that. So there is a continuous effort on ongoing recognition of carers and their family members during this pandemic. So there is a making sure that they could still the access to pension and other social security entitlements. Moving to the economics and works, 92% of carers worldwide worry about not having enough money. In India, during COVID-19, 73% carers we surveyed experienced drop in household income. The pandemic has pushed 71 million people across the globe back into extreme poverty, and we know that many carers are in that figure. There are many opportunities for carers to be included in the workforce and to contribute economically to their families, communities, and the wider economy. We need, first of all, to be aware of carers, to recognize their needs and understand what will facilitate them into the workplace. And my final comment is going to be, it is time for both state and national and international government to develop a national carers strategy, identifying where and how to help carers. If you really want to achieve the sustainable development goals, so carers contribute directly 4 of those sustainable development goals. SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 3, good health and well-being, SDG 4, quality education, and SDG 8, good jobs and economic growth. Many carers are juggling work and caring for their loved one. There may be more than 300 million working carers across the world. So it is time for all of us to recognize the vital role carers are playing and support them. Thank you so much, Shanti.
Anil, when I hear you, the voice of carers comes out so clearly. Thank you so much for that. It's just an unheard voice, and you'll see in the chat window how Kannan and others are responding. Let me go to Professor Mukta. Really would like you to bring the research perspective into this, because, I mean, are we on the right track, looking at disability being an engine for economic growth? God knows. Please go ahead. You have about 7 minutes.
Shanti,
7 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you, Shanti, and thank you, Anil. You noted so many statistics. Now, how else do we attain these sustainable development goals? And how else do we showcase that a focus on disability is a win for all of us? So here are a few thoughts I came up with. And in terms of research, I was thinking we need research at the micro, meso, and macro levels. Now, depending on the context, these terms mean different things. But for the sake of this discussion at hand, let's assume research at the level of the individual is micro, research at the level of the individual's immediate social group like a family or his or her organization, that is meso, and research at the level of the larger community or society, that's macro. So let me break these down a bit. Now, considering the large-scale impact that Shanti spoke about, let's focus on the meso and the macro. Now, here are a few ideas. They may have been implemented in other countries, and these could be replicated in India, maybe with a few tweaks. Now, the economic impact on the family when the person with a disability secures and maintains employment. What exactly is a rupee value? Can we showcase that? What is his or her macro contribution via taxes? What is the GDP boost when the numbers of employees with a disability join the Indian workforce? These kinds of questions can be asked across disability types, controlling for educational as well as several other socio-demographic factors in statistical models. Now we will have a clear story of, well, here's a rupee impact, government. Let's take a call. Let's everybody act together because it's an economic win for everybody. Another specific focus could be innovation. Now we do know from past reports that innovation is increased when persons with a disability are employed within workplaces. And I recall discussing with Shanti an Accenture work report. They worked with Disability Inc. and the American Association of People with Disabilities. Now we could measure similar things in India in terms of organization innovation based on process changes that began because of or for persons with a disability, but actually ended up helping the whole group or the organization in terms of creating new processes, new innovations, new services, and that then leads to bigger markets, people we have not thought about earlier. Now, innovation can also, be looked at in terms of the rupee value. Again, showcase how system-wide changes can be brought about. A final focus could be the larger ecosystem. If we step back from employment to employability, a focus on training persons with a disability, students with a disability, could mean employment generation for those without a disability. Think about sign language interpreters, Surabhi is here, Sarah is here. They have also helped my class, by the way, thanks to Shanti and Dipesh. Now, if I get more and more of those to my classroom, you think about the numbers we are employing, how many people we are including. So the impact really does cascade beyond just the person you are trying to help. You see, the impact translates to you and me. It's for all of us. So again, in terms of, I said sign language interpreter, think about other specialist trainers. Some of you are here in this Zoom conversation. If we talk about special schools or mainstream education, special educators, accessibility enhancers, all of these again serve as a huge space for employment generation for those without a disability alongside those with a disability. So these were just a few ideas that I came up with, and I really like this connect, celebrate, and accelerate. So let me use that. As we connect and accelerate these and other ideas, we can achieve more. So let me stop with that, Shanti. Over to you.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Professor Mukta. I hope my voice is okay. It seems it was echoing. It's fine now, right? Okay. Thank you so much for that. That perspective was really needed. And I think we should take it from here. I like the micro, meso, and mega. So let me go over to Stefan. Stefan, we just had a 20-minute conversation and immediately you were on board. You're smoking the same thing I'm smoking. So you please tell me, it would be wonderful to hear your perspective, the ILO perspective, and how should we, what do you have on your mind? Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Shanti. And thank you for challenging me to take part in this conversation, because it's a challenge, no? But let me also start by just my thoughts for all of you in this current circumstances. Look, as you said, I was very much involved in the negotiation of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So much of our work, also in the ILO, in the area of employment and social protection, is framed within that, within a rights-based approach, and rightly so. We should never forget that. At the same time, it's also, of course, important to look at the economic implications of measures that are taken to promote the inclusion of persons with disabilities. We did a few years ago, Shanti, you reminded me the other day, a study where we looked at what would be the impact on the GDP if persons with disabilities would have a similar employment rate as people without disabilities and in similar sort of job categories. Now, a lot of hypotheses need to be met for that, but I mean, the main result of that was that there would be a boost of 3 to 7% of the GDP in countries. Similar studies have been done in countries, especially where there is a very low participation of women in the labor market, and of course the argument is even stronger than that. So that is that. I think the return on investment, if I can call it like that, of assistive technologies is obvious. You gave Shanti the example of the glasses. These are sort of usually one-off interventions, but they mean a change from somebody not being able to participate in labor market and generate income towards somebody who is an active contributor, pays taxes and all that. Again, return investment is pretty obvious there. What Mukta was saying about the business advantages, the private sector, let's say the more illuminated private sector is well aware of the positive impact of employing persons with disabilities and how that has led, among many other things, to more innovative, to more advanced, more competitive products. Now, the IT sector, I think, is a good example of that. But let us look into a bit more challenging areas. No? And I want to speak about, it was very interesting to listen to Anil. I want to look at the care economy. Now, in the ILO, we have been working on the care economy, mostly, not exclusively, but strongly with a gender equality perspective. Because the whole point, as Anil was saying, the majority of carers are women. So if we want to ensure a society that is gender equal, we need to move also towards more towards care services that are provided by the state, and then it would then allow the carers also to go into the labor market and all. Now, one of the many studies that was done within this broader process was to look at the economic impact. What is the return on investment if countries increase their investment, as they have to do, also to respond to demographic changes that are happening? I mean, the need for care is increasing exponentially, also in particular in countries like India. And the figures in terms of number of jobs that will be created are astronomical. And the focus was on long-term care, including for persons with disability, but also for others, older persons, of course, children, and on education. These are the two sectors that were looked at. And then there was a sort of an analysis of what would be the return on investment from that. The figures are not impressive, but I think they took a very conservative stand. It was basically, okay, more people will come into the labor market to provide these care or education services. They would then pay taxes, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that it was a rather conservative analysis. I think the impact is much larger, and I think we can look into that. Now, I'm thinking of two specific examples. Now, going to the micro level or the meso level, or family level. If you think about what is the investment that is needed to make sure that a child with a disability takes part in education, and instead of sort of ending up outside of the labor market, ends up in university, ends up having a good job. But I mean, the return on investment is amazing if we think about that. In general, we all agree that any investment in child education is the one that has the biggest return on investment. No? So that is, but of course, it requires much more research, much more analysis. But there, the return on investment it's a long-term investment, but it's a very pretty large investment. So that's one situation. Huh? Let's think about children with disability. The second situation, let's think about a person with a rather severe disability who is able to work if he or she has the support of one or more personal assistants. Now, in the case where that service is provided, first it would liberate probably the family carer, who otherwise would have been the only opportunity for that person to survive. So you liberate already a family carer who can then go into the labor market. You have one or more personal assistants that are getting an income, and that income will again generate further revenue. And also you have a person with a disability who, instead of sitting home and waiting for time to pass by, will be able to enter the labor market. So you have a number of positive impacts of that specific intervention. And the last point I will make is more an advocacy issue, and I know Anil is already doing that, but I think it's very important, Shanti, also as the broader disability movement and community that needs to get engaged in broader care economy in similar discussion. Some of these returns on investments go beyond, not only go they beyond disability, as you rightly say, as an engine, but there are also similar discussions that are happening, for instance, around the care economy. It's very important that the disability angle is fully visible there, not only from the carer perspective, which is very important, of course, but also from the, let's say, the care receiver, care beneficiary perspective. I think that is sometimes missing. Also, sometimes because sometimes people with disabilities are a bit nervous when we speak about care, because it could sort of reinforce this passive notion. No, but if we see care as the need for personal assistance, the way forward to ensure living in the community, I think it's quite clear that we need to be in that discussion, and of course also with a strong rights-based approach, but also making very strongly the economic case. So I'm very excited, Shanti, that you challenged me. I see this as a beginning of a process. I think it's very important to have people like Mukta on board, because we need to have research for that. It needs to be credible. It's complex. It's not rocket science, but it requires to be done in a credible way if we really want to use it as part of our argumentation to support more investment in the disability sector. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Stefan. You know, for me, I'm wondering, and this is what there are a set of questions I want to ask everybody who have joined. First, my question is the time now? Because in a post-COVID scenario, I know that at least our government is looking like, where are the jobs? This was even before COVID, like, where are the jobs? We have to generate so many jobs, etc. And here, purple sector, so is there a sense of urgency we need to have to actually get, really do this research quickly? Second is, there are people like NDIS, Kathy is here and others, like, there is stuff that has happened which can feed into this and perhaps make it easier for us to do the research, because NDIS, by supporting persons with disability, but basically there are so many people who got jobs. I looked at a 2018 report and I remember seeing at least 90,000 to 100,000 jobs or whatever. So first, is the time now? Second, what are the opportunities do everybody see here who are on this webinar? Because each one of you is a thought leader. You've been a catalyst for the sector. But if I were to just take one example, just, because somebody has, mentioned about intellectual disability. Baswarat sir, who's on this call, ex-disability commissioner, was, talking about, just imagine, in a rural area, imagine, we were talking about a purple agent, who is connected to a common service center, which is across 400,000 villages in India. And this purple agent says, oh, there's an intellectually disabled child, becomes a paraprofessional, learns from small e-learning modules, and teaches this person who's a young adult how to care for a cow. The intellectually disabled person becomes good at what they're doing. This purple agent gets money, small money in a village is good enough, but is also recognized. There's social recognition for this person. And meanwhile, this intellectually disabled person also was able to maximize their potential. I mean, there's so many examples, and each one of you would be having from your context. So I will stop here. I just want to request you that if now we will allow you to unmute, or you could put things in the chat window if we don't have enough time, but I'd like you to state your name so that the interpreter can do the interpretation, and it will also come in the live captioning. So over to you. I hope it made sense, and please want to hear from all of you. Thank you so much. Who wants to go first? I'm
Can
sure. Yes,
can I
who's
go
that?
first?
Oh,
This
Meena.
is Meena here. Very good point, Shanti. And actually, this is fueled from what all three talked about, Anil, Dr. Mukta, and Stefan. We have these, and we've talked about it in the past as well, right? In terms of how we can enable this at a village level, at the smallest unit, where whether it's a carer or a care receiver, or to try and translate this into the purple economy. And this is again just a thought, which perhaps can fuel more conversation, and triggered by the idea of a purple agent. One of the things, if you look at what really transformed this whole digital ecosystem, there is obviously in India miles to go still, but what really has brought us to this level in a relatively short time is the availability of citizen service centers, at the smallest unit, in a village or a district. If we connect a purple agent, with the CSC in a way, would that sort of fuel change at the bottom level? Dr. Indumati Rao, we had spoken earlier, and where you had talked about this idea of a village disability register. I'm just taking that idea forward, connecting all these points that we've heard, and looking at, thinking about how Stefan is talking about in terms of the importance of having credible data to sort of talk about, that will build this sort of case for investment and to determine this opportunity window that you talk about. So I just want to share this point, and would like all of everyone here who has actually much more experience than me to comment whether it's something that we should think about or not.
Thanks so much, Meena. I think Den Sayam that wanted to make a point. The others, if you could just raise your hand, so then we'll be able to get to everybody. Yeah, Den, go ahead.
Yeah, Shanti, Mukta ma'am, Stefan, it was excellent listening to you. Just wanted to bring one perspective from person with severe disabilities perspective. I belong to that part, that group. And what happens, caregivers, person with severe disabilities, are their empowerment are interrelated. If I am getting a job, I am able to pay another person who is caregiving. And in that part, company plays an important role. There, for maybe when I start my job, I may not be able to pay the full amount of the caregiver and that part, and some part, maybe 50% of the caregiver cost can be taken up by the company or the organization. And that really empowers both ways, the people with disabilities and the caregiver. And caregiver can have a long-term kind of a job engagement with the same person, and that security, sense of security, can get established by that.
Thank you so much for bringing that perspective. Then I was almost thinking of bringing you on the panel because of shortage of time. I didn't do that, but thank you for bringing the severe disability perspective there. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not able to see. Oh, I see 4 raised hands. Oh, fantastic. Okay, I don't know who raised it first, but let me first go to Sunil Jain. I think if you can unmute and please go ahead.
Hi, Shanti. Hello, everyone. Shanti, thank you so much for creating this opportunity to have this conversation. And what I'm going to say is, I don't know how to articulate it, but I start from what you said about spexes, right? Now, that eyesight business has become so insignificant in the world now that we don't relate to as a disability so much, exactly. Right? Now, for all kind of disability, what I think we largely miss is a conversation of aspiration.
Yeah.
At the beginning level, at the grassroots level, at the start with my parents or my siblings, that I can aspire to do anything and be anyone. That conversation is largely missing in my observation. And I am afraid when we talk about this, the theme of this webinar, right? The economic growth, that persons with disability can become the future of economic growth. I am afraid, I'm a little emotional around it to say, are we talking about more and more commoditization of disability? That's my perception, unless otherwise bring in the conversation of aspiration to start with.
Very good point. I think we should never forget what you're doing is you're telling that, hey, see, the idea is that to make people see the value, we will show the benefit for all. But in that, let's not forget that human being here.
Yeah.
The funny thing I'll tell you, Sunil, the reason this is a little strange, right? Why I'm, if for so many years, when there are so many valued citizens with disability all around, and if people cannot see it, it's because I think at a population level, people are not seeing. So I'm kind of sneak from behind. You get my point? Let's make enough jobs for everybody. Things happen, and suddenly everybody's like, oh my God, there are so many persons with disability out there. All persons need to be out on the streets. Then this would not be a challenge.
I
think it's because people are not seeing the person. It seems like an afterthought, but I am with you because I think in this we will never forget the narrative of, because for us it is about catalyzing persons to be a full potential of themselves. So I'm with you saying, let me go on.
Can I interrupt? Can I just, Shanti, just reinforce your point? Sunil, Shanti, and I have spoken exactly about what you're saying so many times. And I also, like Shanti, very much agree with you. So we broke it in our conversation. Today it didn't come out, but Shanti and I broke it in our conversation. We said one part is a lived experience of somebody with a disability or a carer, which I also have been a carer of many people in my family. And on the other hand, if you want the bigger picture country to take a look and listen at us, then we need these bigger numbers. So I very much agree with you, Sunil.
There has to be some,
we need both.
There has to be some sort of a balancing, I won't call balance, like harmonized. Somebody has to hold the fort is what I'm saying. Somebody has to really hold the fort at the policy level to project implementation.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, Sunil, for that. If I can just request Kannan, then Aparna, Ashutosh, then Suchita, and then I think it was Anita who's written in the chat window, if in that order. Yeah, hi, Kannan. Good to see you.
Hi, Shanti. Hi. Thank you so much for organizing this. I was looking at from a little more backward integration perspective. There is a lot that we need to do more around the societal relearning, and it starts with the family and the society around the family, right? And the second pillar is the government, where rather than just stopping with quotas and fixing numbers and things like that, I think they should build certain strategic elements into right from the schooling and education process, where there must be some meaningful stuff in the integration of people with special needs into the normal education system. Again, there I think it should not be left with, okay, you do something, whatever you think is good, but how to do it also should be explained, and that should be part of building that pillar as well. And then the third pillar is the organizations where employability comes in. While there's a lot of interest is being seen in this space over the last 5 years that I've seen myself, there is a lot of traction that can be built, and I see there's a lot that we can learn from how we build the momentum on the gender diversity. The same kind of lift and shifting can be done in this sector. We can build the momentum there as well. And I think, aspects like Valuable 500 should get a little more traction and make it more impactful. I think there is an opportunity, and organizations are waiting. Again, here, they don't know how to do. Many of them are struggling with the how part of it. They want to do, they know they should do something, but they don't know how to do. And that is where I think we can all come together.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kannan. I'm going to put it in a different way. I'm going to say, see, we've always been focusing on the marketplace for persons with disability to aspire, like Sunil was telling. But I'm going to tell your point in a little different way. Imagine there's a purple marketplace where any person in the country who is disabled or not disabled can aspire for jobs, including the one where there are experts who then are the ones who tell you how to do the job properly, right? So there are paraprofessionals. So in fact, more people get employment, and not only the experts, and how few special educators are there. So you kind of have a tiered thing, but it's a purple marketplace. It's free for all. More people come in to it, because the problem today is we don't have at a population level, we don't have people entering this sector as a valuable profession. And it's a valuable profession because you're not only going to do good work, you're going to get money, you're going to get recognition, you will feel good at the end of the day. I'm surprised that purple sector is not the most beautiful color in the world, right? So with that, sorry, we have about 6 to 7 minutes. Aparna, Suchita, Ashutosh, and then Anita, if you could state, and after that, Anima, if you could take 2 minutes and I'll stop talking. I'm the culprit. Go ahead.
Thank you, Shanti, for having me here. Hi, just a quick intro. I'm Aparna Agarwal. I lead talent acquisition at Schindler India. I am visually impaired with over 15 years of visual impairment now. You know, there are a couple of things that I want to share. One is, you know, from a perspective of someone who is physically challenged, or I would say is a person with disability. When we talk about, you know, opportunities or seeking for job opportunities or even believing in our own selves, yes, I know that there are challenges, but somewhere I feel that you know, the aspiration aspect, okay, is something which is very personal to you. It's very family driven as well, right? So it depends on case to case basis. Our education system does have opportunities, but somewhere you know, as a person as well, I need to believe in myself, okay, and say that let me try, let me not give up. So that concept of aspiration somewhere, you know, is in there for with everyone. And I mean, disabled or not disabled, the aspiration is there. It's just that it has to be nurtured. So that is one point. The other point that I want to bring up is that as a candidate, you know, I was fortunate enough to get campus placed, but honestly speaking, you know, I had like a 2-hour long interview, right? Where I had to showcase each and every aspect of making the employers believe that, listen, you've done your first part of at least being open to having a conversation with me, but you know, here is where I operate differently, and this is how it is, and convince them to get into Axis Bank, which was my first employer. Been there for 10 years, okay, and grown up ranks. It's not that, you know, the opportunities were not there, but as a candidate or as a new January, when I was exploring the fact that, okay, oh, can I lead campus? Oh, I need to travel. So what? So basically, what I'm trying to say is I learned on the go, okay, the opportunities were there, but somewhere within me, I did not expect the world around me to create an inclusive environment. Did I have problems? Yes, I did. Did I have, you know, absolutely like a cakewalk journey at Access? No, maybe no, but the conviction was there, the determination was there, and it all fell into place, right? The promotions fell into place. Now, and the growth aspect. Now, when I was wanting to shift from Access to Schindler, now again, you know, as any job seeker, that okay, I'm stagnant in one company, so let me look out. It took 6 months. Why did it take 6 months? Because I had to reach out to senior leaders saying that, listen, here's my profile, here's my credibility, please give me one chance. And, you know, employers like Schindler, when I now get into the shoes of a talent acquisition lead out here, as an employer, I am finding out people, and it's so difficult to find them all, that where are the persons with disabilities I need to hire this year. I'm carrying a target on my own, on my shoulders, but as a job seeker, I did not know where is the platform to reach out. As a company, I don't know. And like rightly said by Kanan, the how part, I know I want to have more and more people with disabilities. But you know, when I look back, when I say that people, I'm open to hire, I don't know which jobs to start from. I don't know, you know, whether I have 100% accessible offices. I really don't know. Right. So somewhere I'm giving you two perspectives that yes, the candidates are there. They are pretty much there, but how can the organizations find them out? That's the you know, conversation that I think we should have.
For your personal example, it helped because, you know, at a population level, imagine if there were purple agents who could enable more companies. You know, we always feel that sense of, oh my God, we're not able to do enough, you know, and then naturally you'll get more people. Not everybody may have the conviction you have. Then at least can be given, access is given easily to a person with disability. There are jobs. So I am seeing purple marketplace having purple agents who enable companies, who enable more candidates to the interview. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it, right? I just want to take Anima's point and, sorry, I think Ashutosh had a very important point, which he said that early identification of learning disabilities in kids and its impact on improving purple economy. Actually, Ashutosh, I feel, for example, it is the early identification is a purple agent who will, like, imagine you had 1 million jobs listed, gig jobs or whatever, to do this early identification. There are enough examples in our country, like there are village rehabilitation workers. We just take the concept through the whole country. So in everything, whatever need we have, can we convert it into a job for all? That way, the focus will be given to our sector. That's what I'm hoping for, right? Sorry, I'm not able to see Anita. Yes, entrepreneurship. Thank you, Anita. You are an entrepreneur. In fact, I think, Anita, if you can, we are already at 1:25. Anita, if you can tell your stuff in about 2 minutes, I would love to hear from you in 1 minute.
Great. Thank you everyone for having me here, and especially I'm a researcher turned into an entrepreneur. I did my PhD from IIM Indore. I followed Mukta ma'am's work a lot. She works in the career and corporate. I work in the space of career and entrepreneurship. So what I experienced over a period of time in the last 10 years of research, that we usually do not talk about entrepreneurship as a career choice, and people who take entrepreneurship as a career choice, especially in the field of disability, they are not talked much about in the space of disability. And then what happens is there are hardly any research cases or teaching cases which we could teach in the management schools. So just to add a little, after I quit my job from IIM Amritsar, I started working on a couple of entrepreneurs with who are working in the space of disability, and we have got planet abled case published, so that students can be taught on these celebratory cases and celebratory ideas, that this is one of the things. And research and entrepreneurship can go hand in hand. So that is one thing which I wanted to add. So speak about entrepreneurship and talk that these are the challenges, so that young people who are doing MBA or engineering can come up and see that disability is also one of the opportunities wherein they can work in a commercial sector, not as a charity or a support platform, but as a mainstream option they can choose for. Thank you.
Anita, and the fact that you actually do the driving, you provide driving services for persons with disability, which is a brilliant example. I mean, we should be having 100,000 entrepreneurs around teaching driving to persons with disability and making those changes. I will tell you, people like Indumati Rao, Dr. Indumati Rao, who actually has been able to convince the technical board in India to have accessibility as a module, so that engineers can do jobs in the sector. So we have enough examples. What I will do is, if I can just request Martina to run the poll now, because I know we will be short of time, and I do want to hear from you, at least through the poll. For people with vision impairment, you just have to use tab or down arrow, and you should be able to do the needful. The silence is because we are waiting for the poll to get completed. We've got...
Shanti, this is Nayantara. Do you want me to read out the question?
Yeah, the question is, thank you, I forgot, I'm saying for vision impairment. Should all of us in the sector collectively pursue working towards disability sector being an engine for economic growth? Should we be working towards this? Is there a compelling need for us to do, despite, I'm sure, should we be actually pursuing this angle? Take Sunil's point. As long as that does not get lost, should we be looking at the purple sector, really? Should we be doing something more about this? Thank you, Nayantara. I thought I actually did that. Okay, so can we share the results? Okay, they're viewing. So if I can just read that out, around 97% have said yes, that we should do this. Thank you so much. I think that that gives a little energy, and yay, I'm feeling excited about that. Can we do the second poll, Martina? And this time I'll remember to be inclusive. I think time pressure made me a little not so inclusive. The next one. I think there's a second one, Martina. Yeah. No, I still don't see it. Martina, if you can unmute and tell me we should. My question anyway, I'll just tell you, was that would I hope many of you or all of you feel that you want to take part in this, because this is not about myself or Professor Mukta, etc. Should all of us in the sector collectively pursue working towards disability? Should all of us pursue this? You know, how many people feel that, do you want to pursue this? You know, so would you like to be part of this? Would you like to be actually part of this? Would you like to be part of the Purple Rain movement? So we're calling it Purple Rain, by the way, right? Purple sector, raining of jobs for everybody. So it's Purple Rain, by the way. So yes. I see yeses even in the chat window. So even if you've not taken part in the poll, yes, I love this. Till now, I'm seeing around, oh my God, 99% responses. Oh, this is so nice. So nice. So yes, let it rain in purple, Christine says. I think we have our verdict. So yes, if you can end polling because of in the interest of time. Okay, so I think all of you can see the results. It is 99% of folks have said that you'd like to be part of the Purple Rain movement. So we've reached the end of the hour. I'd like to say that whoever has responded in the positive, we will be in touch with you, where you, the catalyst, will be running, will be giving us giving ideas and taking this forward along with all of us. I look forward to that. I just want to thank the Catalyst team, Enable India team for making this happen, the interpreters, our inclusion specialists, the societal platform folks who triggered this thought, the Aspire team, and Baswarat sir, Niti Consulting, BS Nagesh, Dr. Indumati, and who were in this journey before this, and then the speakers, Anil, for being so passionate about carers, Professor Mukta, you always bring that amazing perspective, and Stefan, thank you so much for being part of this panel. I hope all of you who are here today are feeling energized, because I truly am hoping that we will take this opportunity forward.